Hi everyone, welcome to another sewing video. Today we are going to continue my Victorian outfit making journey, if you will. I already explained this whole plan in my last sewing video, which is where I made this lovely petticoat. So if you're interested in that, you can watch it in the little I button. Today we are working on these final foundation garments. So I already have my chemise, I have my corset, I have my petticoat, and now I need to make one final thing before I can move on to the outer layers, and that is a corset cover. I have another truly Victorian pattern. This is the mid-Victorian corset cover. There's view A, view B. I'm going to make view B, and I've already prepared this. So I printed the pattern out, I cut out the pieces, and I washed my fabric. So for the fabric I'm using a really lightweight white cotton. It's lighter than the fabric I use for the petticoats, but I think that's going to be perfect. Then I have some lace for around the neckline and I believe the arms. Yeah, and around the armholes. And then I also have some kind of white transparent-ish buttons for the front closure. And I've got thread. So I can start now, which is very exciting. Also, I'm going to be hand sewing this completely. I also hand sewed this petticoat almost completely. But we don't talk about that. And I want to do the same for the corset cover. So my joints in my hands already hate me. But I'm going to try and pace myself a little bit more, so work on this a little bit slower. I went pretty fast with the petticoat and I think that's the problem, but I got so excited about this thing that I wanted to finish it as soon as I could, but I don't really need to do that. I have some time, so I'm going to take it slow. And the first thing I need to do is cut out all the pattern pieces out of the fabric. Okay, so now that all the pieces are cut out, I can start putting it together. And the first thing I need to do is what I'm doing now, and that is sewing the plackets to the front. And for that I need to first sew the plackets to the front on one side. Then I'm going to fold the placket to the right side of the front piece and fold the edge of the placket under and sew that down along the front to create a really lovely placket that I can then later sew the buttons to and make the buttonholes in. So I'm just using a simple running back stitch all the way along these seams, and this shouldn't take too long. So I'm going to do this and then we can move on to the next step. Then once the plackets were done, it was time to work on the buttons and the buttonholes, which usually in the projects that I work on is one of the final steps, but now it's one of the earlier steps, which I kind of like, because normally by the time I get to the final step, the button and the buttonhole step, I really don't feel like doing it. And now I had to do it early on, so I got that out of the way. and could focus on the rest of the project. So for the buttonholes and the buttons, I just marked where they should be. And I got to work sewing it all by hand, which I never really do. Well, that's not really true. I sew buttons on by hand all the time, but buttonholes, never. I am really a big fan of the person who invented the buttonhole sewing machine foot, but I had to do this by hand. So I got to work. It took some time, but I got it all done. So now that these are done, the front pieces, it's time to basically put everything together. It's really simple. I just need to put all the pieces together and sew the seams and sew the shoulder seams. Now for these seams, I'm just going to do the same as I did for the petticoat, for the chemise. I'm just going to flat fell them. So what I'm going to do is, I'm first going to sew the seams right sides together. Then I'm going to trim one side of the seam allowance. Then I will press both seam allowances to the side that's been shortened. Then I'm going to fold the largest seam allowance over and under the shorter seam allowance and pin that down so that I can then sew that down. The main construction is done. So after I've sewn all the seams together, I also quickly kind of prepared all the edges because I will be adding lace. Before I could do that, I had to finish the edges. So I just folded it over twice and now it's all ready to go. And it's time to add the lace. Now for the lace, I kind of went back and forth between two options. Let me show you. My first idea was to first place this blue ribbon over the edge, the top edge, and then get my lace and place it over so that the scalloped edge would just go over the blue ribbon. Then the other option is a bit more simple, which is sew on the lace first, like this, and then put the blue ribbon over the part where it joins, like this. So after thinking about this for honestly days, I decided to go with the second option. So I will be sewing on the lace first and then sew the ribbon over the edge. Let's do this. I need to sew the lace along the neckline, back, front, and then also the arm size. Now I'm still debating whether I want to do something to the hem, but I'm also kind of liking the idea of keeping it plain. But I have some time to think about that. First I need to sew on the lace to the neckline and the arm size. Once the lace and the ribbon were sewn on, I decided to also add a hook and eye closure at the top of the button placket, just to kind of close it all the way. And then I also, as a finishing touch, sewed on my little 2025 label. And with that, the corset cover is all done. And with that, the whole underwear part of my Victorian outfit is finished. I really like this corset cover, more than I thought I would. So I'm kind of contemplating making one of these out of different fabric just to wear in my everyday life. Maybe make it out of a linen and wear it with a skirt. I love it. So yeah, I think it turned out great. I think it works really well over my corset. The shape is great. I really like how it fits perfectly at the waist, and just the whole shape of it is really nice. I'm also really happy with the lace and the ribbon, and that it also ties in with the petticoat. So I would say this has been a big success. Now that the underwear part is done, I'm even more excited to get started on the main dress, bodice and skirt. That will have to wait a little bit though, because I have some other things coming up. I have a couple of summer related things I want to make, and I want to do that before the end of the summer. So that's going first, and then the Victorian outfit comes after that. So it will be probably end of summer, early autumn, we'll see. But this part is done, and I think it's time that I wrap it up here. So stay tuned for the next part of the project, like I said, in probably half a year. For now, thank you for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.